Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. For a long time now, we've been receiving reports that Boko Haram and the ISIS West Africa province, it's called ISWAP, they are responsible for the majority of killings of civilians, especially in Nigeria. We've recently received a report, particularly, this is from the Observatory for Religious Freedom in Africa. They've pointed out that the Fulani ethnic militia has actually killed far more than both groups combined, and this warrants our attention. Joining us to talk about this is Ed Clancy. Ed is the Outreach Director of Aid to the Church in Need USA. Ed, it's so great to speak with you again. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's good to speak with you, even for a tough subject.
Yeah, and a tough subject indeed. I want to ask you to shed light on what we've been told thus far about Boko Haram and, really the ISIS of West Africa, and what we now know about the Fulani ethnic militia.
For many years, Boko Haram has sort of gotten the center of attention in its attacks. I mean, there have been many brutal attacks by Boko Haram, and rightly so that they get some attention for the bad things they were doing. But for years now, the church in Nigeria has said it's not Boko Haram, that there are other actors causing harm against Christians' communities, abductions, and obviously killings. And about 5 years ago, we kept hearing Fulani. We kept hearing that the Fulani herdsmen, the Fulani growth, and this is under Buhari, the previous president of Nigeria. Now, President Buhari was himself a member of the Fulani tribe, and we had some people warning us that there were a lot of things going on to put Fulani in power, and they were using their power to try to gain territory, and their principal area of growth was in the central part or the middle belt of Nigeria, where the greatest concentration of Christians are and also the greatest number of farms. The Fulani are a herding tribe. Now, ISWAP is another offshoot of ISIS, and they essentially broke off from Boko Haram and aligned themselves more closely with ISIS than Boko Haram, which is in and of itself a sort of native-born Nigerian terrorist group. And so now the study has said, and this confirms what we've heard from many of our partners on the ground, that the Fulani far and away are the more aggressive and more pervasive attackers of Christians. We remember recently as I guess it was 2023, just before Easter, there was an attack on a Catholic high school that had been turned into essentially a relocation center for mainly women and children that was attacked on, I think it was Good Friday, and dozens and dozens were killed. Now, these men and women and children had been displaced from their homes and had already suffered brutality, and that was the reason why they were there. And again, they were targeted. So, and those attackers were in fact Fulani. So this study doesn't necessarily give us super scientific data, but it certainly confirms all of the analytics that we've seen in order of even the observational studies or reports that we get.
Thank you for that. And I want to ask you to also, for the sake of our listeners' understanding, help us see how the targeting has a very specific anti-Christian lean. Ed?
I'm sorry. I lost you for a second. Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I said I thank you for that explication. I'm very grateful. And I want to ask if you could also shed light on the fact that the Fulani ethnic militia's targeting has a very specific anti-Christian lean.
Yeah. Again, this has been sort of clouded in the guise, the headlines of climate change and herd or farmer disputes. But in fact, the Fulani have purposefully driven themselves down into the central part of Nigeria, and they have attacked the Benue state, which is far and away the most Christian and the most Catholic area of Nigeria. Bishop Anagbe from Makurdi, who testified numerous times before Congress and was one of the leading voices against the violence that the Fulani were leading, has said that 95% of Benue is Christian and 75% of it is Catholic. And we're talking about, a state of about 6 million people. The other thing that is not reported often, if at all, is the fact that there are over 2 million of these 6 million people displaced at any one time. And this is all because of what is happening in the sort of the northern eastern part of the Diocese of McCurdy. The bishop has lost over a dozen parishes, which translates into something like 50 churches, pastoral buildings, and chapels. So they're gone, essentially off the map when it comes to his diocese, because they have been overrun by the Fulani, who have come down and essentially occupied the land. The other thing that is happening is that they've had the Fulani herds come in and purposely trample areas that were Christian as opposed to other areas that were Muslim. The marketplace in one of the areas of McCurdy, which had a mixture of Christians and Muslims because it was on the border of two states, they had almost all of the Christian farmers are gone now. So again, you have not only the opportunity for economic stability gone from these Christian families, but they're not even present anymore.
Could you also help us see that it's not just about slaughter and attack? We're looking at mass abductions as well.
Yes. Again, the numbers are staggering. I mean, we're talking about, I think in the report they said something close to 80,000 deaths, killings, terrorist-related killings have happened since 2020, and over 36,000 abductions. And again, the preponderance of these, the great number of these are Christians. And this is something that we can counter the sort of narrative that there are more Muslims killed than Christians, or the Muslim community is suffering just as much or more than Christians. We can just point to very simple facts, like we regularly hear about priests being killed, priests being attacked, nuns being attacked, religious leaders in the Christian community all throughout Nigeria. And yet, seldom, if ever, do we hear about an imam or a Muslim leader being attacked. And this is just, again, even though this is, in a sense, anecdotal, this is not some sort of scientific study, we have to realize that is a pattern that you could recognize, and that it goes into just the common sense of what is going on there. And it validates a lot of what we would call observational studies or observational analysis.
Based on what we are seeing in terms of proper observational analysis and the final reports we're seeing, the human toll is staggering. What can our listeners do to either be more aware or at least keep ahead of what's going on and try to get involved as well?
Well, a number of things we need to help to sustain them. We need to help to rebuild some of these communities if they get the opportunity to return. There was a bill recently passed in the Nigerian Senate which will allow for state-run police for the first time. And this will give an opportunity for two things. First of all, protection of the Christian communities, but also accurate reporting. We know that statistics can be skewed one way or another. One of the ways they control it is that the government doesn't provide statistics. States might, because again, their populations are different. Aid to the Church in Need is standing with the people in especially Benue and helping them rehabilitate their lives. We will in the future probably help them in relocation, small groups as a pilot, and hopefully we can get the buy-in from other communities and other organizations to help some of these families return to their homes. And the other thing that needs to be done is rehabilitation of men and women, women and children especially, who get brutalized, lose their husbands, or have been attacked and suffer the consequences for a long time, but the church will remain with them.
Ed, as usual, thank you very much for enlightening us on all that's happening. I appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. It's good speaking.
My guest has been Ed Clancy. He is Outreach Director of Aid to the Church in Need in the United States of America. And we've been taking a look at how, contrary to the kind of reporting we're seeing across the world, it's really the Fulani ethnic militia that has been killing far more civilians and Christians in Nigeria. Pray and let's get involved. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter.